Hello and welcome. My name is David Barry. Recently I had the opportunity to interview a woman who had been born in what has been described as the West Bank in the Middle East. She wanted to keep her identity concealed as she was concerned that her life might be at risk if she was allowed to speak freely. In order to respect her wishes, she is, for the purposes of this interview, going to be known as Tracy. I began by asking her why she had come to the UK.
Well, because I tried, when I was back in the West Bank, I tried to have some conversations about peace and about telling the truth about many things, but I found out a big rejection for that, and you almost get persecuted, and I was threatened because of that. So, the only idea that, the only opportunity for me to express how is it there, after I found out many things, after making lots of researches, you know, many questions came up, like why we suffer from specific things in our life as Palestinians, and we made some research with the help of some people, and I found out many things that I've been told lies, and I found out what's really happening.
So things that you were told when you were young.
Yeah. Not even when I'm young, even when I grew up, till the last.
And can you give us an example of the things that you were told are now mistruths?
Yeah, like putting the blame on Israel in every single thing almost. They're happy to put, well, they've done it. They put the blame on Israel because of the conflict in Syria. They put the blame on Israel because of the water in the West Bank, the lack of water in the West Bank. But after a while, we found out that the Israeli agreed on giving the Palestinians a specific amount of water on Oslo. But then, afterwards, now they're giving them 3 times more, and the Palestinians are losing 35% from it, and putting the blame on Israeli because of their misarranging stuff.
We're led to believe that there are many Palestinians living in poverty. Is that right?
Well, no, not true. You can't have you can't see homeless people. We don't have them. Everybody has a house, and no.
And would you say that most mainstream Palestinians want peace with Israel?
Not most of them, no.
Why do you think they don't want peace with Israel?
Because they don't want the existence of Israel from the beginning. They claim that you took over the land, and their land, which they never had. We never had a country called Palestine, if you go back to history. So they putting the blame on Israel for not having Palestine, and they never for not having something they've never had.
But it's probably not their fault, because they probably taught this at school.
Well, yeah, I've been told that at school. But even if you want to go tell them now, they won't understand. It's a big thing. They think, no, they took our lands, and we were persecuted and killed by them. So.
And by speaking out like this, would that be a problem for you if you ever went back to the West Bank?
Of course, yeah. When they discover that I'm the one who's speaking, I'll be maybe killed.
But
they'd put me in jail, of course.
Isn't there the concept of free speech?
No, there's no freedom. There's no free speech. You can't just go and tell anything you want. You'll be put in prison.
And are there
killed.
Are there moderate people like you that want peace with Israel?
There are, yeah, but you need to search for them really hard. And they're few, not much, because this is how they were raised up on. So when you're raised up on an idea, that's it.
And I've been led to believe that when children go to summer camps in Gaza, they don't play football and they don't play cricket. They're indoctrinated to be a terrorist. Is that right?
Well, they teach them lots of to be terrorists, like fighting, killing themselves, and for their land, and they don't care if they kill themselves for their land and kill other people.
And many people in the Western world accuse Israel as being an apartheid state. What would you say to people that call Israel an apartheid state?
Well, the wall is just in front of my house, and after they put it, I've been destroyed economically in many ways. But even though after they put it, you can see that the suicide bombers stop. Do you find any? Well, no. So you see it that way. The Palestinians are bringing those stuff for themselves, by themselves.
So you understand why the wall had to be erected?
Yeah. No, I understand very well. Even if it destroyed my life. Yeah.
So if you were Prime Minister of Israel, would you have put that wall up?
Yeah.
You would have?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's an amazing statement coming from a Palestinian
who was woke up by an Israeli soldier, by a gun from Israeli soldier on her head in her life.
Is there any Western life in Gaza or the West Bank?
Well, Gaza, I don't know, because I've never been there. West Bank, a bit. Like what?
I mean, would
not much. Maybe 1%.
So what do you think the motivations are of the PA and the Hamas authorities? What do they want?
Well, for the moment, they're having the benefits out of the situation, which is the support, the financial support from the whole world for them, and they're having the money. Because if you leave them together on their own, they'll start killing each other again as animals, as they've done.
And what would you say to people about the refugee problem? We can't make peace with Israel because you took our homes in 1948, you threw us out of Jerusalem, you threw us out of many areas, and we can't speak peace until you give us these areas back and give us the law of return.
If they took those areas back, would they make peace? Would they stop killing you? And this is one question. The second question is, well, now the refugee camps we have in our area are way much better than any refugee camp in the world. They're normal areas, and they have money, actually. There's a refugee camp I know. If you walk on the left side of the street, you see, refugee houses on camp. If you look at the right side of the street, and you ask for whom are those villas, they tell you those refers to the refugee camp people. So
when I was at a recent Palestinian solidarity meeting, many people described Israel not only as an apartheid state, but also compared them to Nazis. What would you say to them?
Well, actually, Israel is a protection for the Palestinian in the West Bank for not killing each other, because they'll end up, if they don't have the Israel being there, they'll end up killing each other, like it's happening in Syria and Egypt and other places in the Arab world. So
Why do you think you're...
Well, they didn't know, and they don't know what happened exactly, and what the Nazi done exactly to the Jewish. So there's no comparison between what is happening to the Palestinian to what happened to the Jewish exactly.
And recently, Hamas have come out publicly and said that the Holocaust is a myth. It didn't happen.
Yeah, all lies.
Why do you think they come out with these statements?
Lies. They're full of lies.
But what motivates them to come out with statements that the Holocaust is a myth?
To persuade the people that they should kill the Israelis. Only lies.
And
because if they don't want to have the word sympathy for the Israelis, they only want to have sympathy for themselves, to get money, to get support, to be able to kill and not even being stopped.
And what would you say is the best way forward in order to create a peaceful solution between Palestinians and Israelis?
Okay, take Hamas out of there, take the corruption in our government, and start teaching peace in schools, not terrorism.
Do you think the Palestinian areas could become as Western as Israel? Because in order to be civilized, I think one has to adopt Western values, and that's going to be very, very difficult, isn't it, in the Middle East?
Yeah, well, for many years, they've been asking to rule, for Palestine to rule. Now they're having the West Bank and Gaza, and they're not able to rule it in any single way, and they're not going to negotiate. They're not sitting to negotiate because they know that they can't handle ruling this land. So you need a change of the whole system.
And is it fair to blame Netanyahu for the disruption of the peace talks, because he won't sit down until there are conditions met? Do you think the best way forward is to sit down without any conditions?
No, you need to have conditions already killed.
Wow.
By time, after time, yes. You can't trust them like that. You can't sit and say, we'll live with you, because you'll be killed. This is their culture. It's a desert culture based on 3 W's: war, woman, wealth.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, it's a desert culture based on 3 W's: war, woman, wealth.
Okay, so the war,
which they won't stop it ever, and because they can't kill any other nations, they're killing each other now. Wealth, money, of course.
and
Woman, and it's all there. They can marry 4.
you're painting a very, very sad, pessimistic, dark situation picture, aren't you?
Because I've lived in it and I've been through it, and it's reality.
Can't you?
Many of them don't like it. Many of them don't want it, and they're trying to adopt Western ideas. But they might be killed for that. So.
Is the only way forward for people like you to leave then?
Yes, if you want to speak truth, of course. Because if you stay there, truth will put you into trouble and even kill you.
Wouldn't the best way forward is for you to go back and join with many people that think like you, and perhaps have an Arab Spring in the West Bank?
No, I can't. You'll be killed unless you have, a higher authority over them.
But there is democracy, isn't there?
Where?
In the West Bank.
Who told you?
There are free elections, isn't there? And people.
Sorry, yes. Yeah, okay, and Yeah,
and people have voted for this, haven't
yeah,
they? And that's
them.
democracy. People want this.
Yeah,
no?
they pay them to vote for specific stuff. They give them money to vote. Like I've been given, I know people that have been given specific stuff like money and credit cards for their
for the vote.
For their phones, you know, and stuff to vote. They give them money.
So why do you think people in the West Bank and Gaza hate Israel? Why? What is it that they hate Israel? Why?
Because they can't love. There's in their culture. There's no love. A parent, a father, can't show love to their children. They've been killing their own flesh and blood. Like 2 weeks ago, a father killed his daughter because she was arguing on going to college. He just killed her. A husband, 1 week ago, a husband killed his wife because she asked for divorce because he had been beating her for 10 years. But
all the blame can't go on to the Palestinian authorities. There's got to be some blame on Israel, isn't there?
In a way, of course, there's, you know, the whole...
Israel aren't blameless, are they?
Well, but the problem is they put all the blame on Israel. Well, of course, you know, the clashes and all of that is not really something not to blame on, but they had the Palestinians starting, so they had to shoot back.
And can you explain to the viewers of this video, Tracy, why your life could be in danger by speaking out so candidly as you are on this video?
Because I'm saying, as I told you, because I'm saying things that nobody can say back there or hear even. When somebody says something right about somebody else, for sure they will kill him. But if you're saying somebody not right about something else, they just won't be willing to kill you. They'll just ignore you.
And what would you say? We're in the period of the Olympics at the moment, and it has been put into the public domain that there are some people representing Libya or Iraq or Iran that won't participate in the same sport than an Israeli. What do you think of that?
And they won't participate
in the same sport as the Israeli is participating in. So, for instance, if an Israeli has to fight somebody in judo, for instance.
Well, okay, I got it. Well, it's obvious. What do you think that a kind of person would do that? What manners does he have? If he choose not to fight someone because of the conflict in another place, because like he's judging over the person because of his personality, who he is, or where does he come from. So it's all based on discrimination.
Because it has been suggested that the way forward is to perhaps involve the Israelis and the Palestinians in culture, such as theatre, sport, and things like that, in order to perhaps have some common interests.
Yeah,
what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, they've been doing that 9 years ago, but they stopped it because the Palestinians don't want it, doesn't want it. They say when this gathering happens, the Israeli changed the idea of the Palestinians, and then they will be friends, and this is not good for the country.
And what do you think? There are some religious Jewish people that are very upset, especially in areas like Hebron, where they are not free to go and pray in their holy sites. Do you think it's fair that the Palestinian authorities don't allow religious Jewish people to pray in holy sites that are located in their areas?
Well, I can't answer that question, because if I want to say, well, I'm not sure.
Because Israelis, I believe, would never stop Muslims, Christians or Jewish people praying wherever they wanted to pray, and it's been put out that the Palestinian Authority do not allow religious Jews to pray in certain areas.
Well, true, for Christians they got permissions on their feasts to go to pray in their holy churches, but not all of them. At the same time, also they give some of the Muslims to go to pray in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So, but not always. It's not like they're not all of them. So
I'm also led to believe that the Christians are very, very scared now to go to Bethlehem. Is that right?
Well, you mean tourists?
Well, Christians that perhaps want to live there, they feel...
And they've been immigrating a long time ago, because they had threatened. Well, they're they had threatened from many places. First, the situation of before and the Intifada. How was it? And they were in the middle. Like, for example, they were in the middle, victims of the whole situation. For example, a Muslim resistant who has a gun, he used to go from a place I know in the West Bank, stand next to a Christian house, start shooting at an Israeli area, and of course the Israelis would shoot back, and after he runs and he leaves a Christian house being shot at, and with rockets and bullets and single thing.
Is a Muslim woman allowed to have Western values? I mean, does a Muslim woman have to cover her head? Is she free to wear, clothes that she wants to wear?
Well, it depends on the family she'd been raised in. Few not much families have this freedom or have this way of thinking. Most of them have to be covered and have to follow the way of thinking.
And what's the thinking in the universities in the West Bank? Are the students free to speak out and have freedom of speech like you're speaking to me now?
No. Well, no, you can't. As I told you, you'll be killed.
You'll be killed if you wanted to speak out like you are now?
Yeah, if I want to say my opinion, yes.
Tracy, my goodness gracious me. I'm sure my viewers don't want to hear things like this. Can you paint a sunny picture for us?
Sunny picture? You mean a solution?
Yes.
As I told you, put the extremist, maybe, I don't know, take them out. Take the extremists out, and they should start working on themselves first and try to have a proper and not corrupt government.
Do you think the government is corrupt?
Yeah, of course it is. I don't think it is.
So all these billions of euros and dollars that have been pumped into the West Bank and Gaza, is that going to the man on the street?
It's going to the mobile phone of the wife, of the husband, of the brother, of maybe some of the relatives of the guy who's getting the money. So no, the answer.
And can we just go back? I know we've mentioned this a little bit before, Tracy, but I just want to get this clear, because in Britain, where this video is being shot, many people say that the Palestinians are living in dire poverty. There's no goods being travelled into Gaza or the West Bank. There's starvation. You know, the babies haven't got any food to eat.
No, it's all lies. At least in West Bank. I don't know about Gaza, but in West Bank, those are all lies. They're not starving. People are not starving back there. They're only saying lies to have sympathy and have more money. That's it.
Are there, Tracy, I want to try and get from you some things that we can be optimistic about. You know, it has been suggested by a university graduate here that the way forward would be maybe when everybody that has got power at the moment, that's got baggage going back to 1948, once unfortunately they die, then perhaps people like you who don't have any baggage, that don't have any perhaps historical untruths, will be the leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah, you need many of people like this. You need to, well, people need to be educated in a peaceful way.
So do you agree with me that maybe when... Of
course, maybe there's always hope, but they need to change their culture and way of thinking and start thinking in a peaceful way.
Do you think instead of concentrating what happened in the past, whether it was 48, 52, 67, 73, 82, do you think that should be forgotten and people should move on and think about the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren?
Of course, they can't be living under war and asking for sympathy from the whole world. That's it, move on, have a life.
And what do you think of the Palestinians where they want to perhaps get some support from the United Nations at the moment? They want to be a sovereign state.
They can't. Oh, sorry, they can't rule it. They don't have control over it. No, it's corrupt. What government? It's corrupt. A journalist happened to find out that there are chemical things have been used in for the, you know, the trees and what is it? Yeah, there've been chemical things when you put them on the trees and the stuff that have been used that are forbidden and worldwide, and they cause cancer. After he found out and they proved it, he, the minister of environment, not environment, I'm not sure which one is that minister. He said, yes, we found out that we're having those stuff and we're gonna pull them. After a year, those people sued that journalist and said, and they're still using those chemical stuff because they're already having the money out of them, and they only care about their money, and they don't care about their people that have been used chemical stuff that would cause cancer.
Can we just...
And they said that they lied. After 1 year, they lied and said that it wasn't true.
Can we just go very, very briefly to the refugee problem? Because obviously that is a big problem, a stumbling block.
Well, what's the problem with the refugee? We've been paying for their electricity. People there, local people, pay for their electricity. They have houses. They've taken our lands. And they're living there in a very well condition. The image that you see and they show you, because they don't, it's only lies. They don't clean themselves to show people, to get the sympathy out of people, to show people that they're poor, to get money. And that's it.
I think you're, obviously I have to try and being a journalist, I have to be balanced.
I know.
But, you know, that is the picture that is portrayed in the Western media.
I know. And they've been using it for years. Come on, if you use it for 2 years in your life, you'll have lots of money to make you live for for another 20 years. So they've been using it for 10 years.
Listen, Tracy, thank you ever so much for being so brave and courageous and coming on film.
Yeah.
Really, it's really, really amazing of you. But just finally, can you try from the depths, try and give me a optimistic statement for the future?
I told you already, they should start changing their culture, well, my culture. It should be based on peace, and they should start changing some of their ways of thinking. They have lots of value stuff, and I have them, and I'm proud of them. But at the same time, we have lots of really not good values, and we should change them to be able to continue living and start depending on ourselves. Stop begging from people for money and lying.
Okay, Tracy, thanks ever so much for joining Jewish Online Magazine, and good luck for the future.
Thank you so much.